stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Hello, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is complicated. So let's recap. We are in the process of developing a library as well as a set of effects for real-time audio processing using the JSFX language in REAPER. In particular, we are working on an effect called an Automixer that helps you mix automatically, hence the name, a bunch of microphones that may be open in the same space. So you would like to reduce the bleed from one person speaking into the other person's microphone, which is useful in round tables, in live events, in any sort of situation where you would have multiple microphones in a room, podcast editing, that sort of thing. In particular, we are working on one parameter of this effect, one slider of this effect, that is the lookahead parameter. Because if you are doing post-production, you are not using the Automixer live, it can be handy to look ahead into the future of the audio so that when someone is about to start speaking, you can already allocate some gain to that person's microphone. And if you want more detail about how all of this works, you can watch the previous streams. Let's dive into the problem of the lookahead in particular. Right now, I'm trying to implement this fancier notion of lookahead, which seems to be the notion that recomp implements. And you can see recomp here on the left. And this is our Automixer. Now check what happens when I just send a click into both. You see two spikes in recomp, but only one spike in the Automixer. And of course, in these graphs, time is the horizontal axis and the vertical axis is gain reduction, or in other words, it's attenuation. So it is by how much the Automixer is reducing the bleed on the different microphones. But the point is, the lookahead in recomp has two spikes because it is taking into account both the audio that is delayed, so both the I guess, in other words, it's taking into account the audio that is going to come in the future, if you want to look at it that way. So it's looking ahead, but it's also computing the RMS of the audio that is just coming in, and it is combining both of them. While in my version, I tried to do that on Friday. I tried to implement that on Friday, but it didn't work out. As you can see, it's still just producing one spike. The goal of today is to try to get those two spikes. That's what we are after. And the way that we are going to get there, hopefully, is by this implementing correctly this deep technical thing in the Automixer, and that has to do with how we compute the gains of different microphones. And there are several steps of things that we do. So we compute loudness, and then we take the priorities, and then we take strength, and then we do a bunch of things. And we are using some of the old variables when we should be using new variables. Kind of tricky. But first, let's say hello to Bo. Hey, Bo. It's great to have you here. Hope you enjoy today's session. Right. Let's get to it. We will need to store more stuff into the global memory that allows different plugin instances to communicate with one another. And that's necessary because the Automixer works by putting one Automixer instance into each track that needs to be automixed. So each microphone would have its own Automixer instance. We will need to add stuff here, but I'm not really sure what we need to add. So let's go over the implementation of this section. Yes, let's go over the implementation of this section to find what pieces of data we need to store. And I will also show exactly in the code the issue that is happening and how I think doing this fix I'm proposing today will do the 2 spikes up here. Let's see. First of all, this is rather straightforward. We are looping over all the channels in this microphone. So if you have a stereo microphone or if you have a quadraphonic microphone, it doesn't matter. We are going to go over all of these channels and we are computing the RMS of all of these channels together, combined. And I say that because computing the RMS of multiple channels is not as straightforward as one may think, but I'll not dive into this today. You can watch the previous streams for details. So after having computed the RMS, I already implement one of the features in the Automixer that is the priority. And that's when one of the microphones, and this is this slider right here, one of the microphones may be, for instance, the moderator, and you would like to assign the moderator a higher priority. So if multiple people are speaking at the same time, you're going to hear the moderator louder than everyone else. And I implement this priority simply by multiplying the RMS of that microphone, of that track. Here, now that I'm saying this out loud, here and in many places, I need to consider, do I want to multiply this value, this priority, by the linear, which is the RMS, or by the logarithmic, which is the dB version of that? Do I want to take the dB and convert that to priority? I don't know. I have to think about how we are going to do this, because there are some computations that you want to do in the linear domain and some that you would like to do in the logarithmic domain. I have to think about that. Anyhow, we do this computation and then we store the RMS. Not only we store it for using later in this section, in this sample section, but we also store it in this global memory that allows every instance to see every other instance. And that's because every instance will need to compute the sum of all RMSes. It needs to know how much gain, or I guess how much signal is coming through all the microphones combined. Because the way that the Automixer works is, you first compute what is the level of all the microphones combined. And this level fluctuates over time, because if everyone is speaking, the level will be very high. But if everyone is quiet, then there will be very little signal coming through. So that's why you want to compute the sum of all the microphones together. And you already know how much you, this particular microphone, contribute to that whole. And then the gain that will be allocated to you is proportional to the amount of your contribution to the total. So we already know what is this track's contribution. Then we need to compute the sum of everything, the sum of all the tracks. And that's what we do over here. We start this variable with 0. We will be adding to it. We do that by looping over all the tracks that have been stored in the global memory. So that's where you can see the global memory being read from. It's being used instead of in this place where it's being written to, right? And there is this notion of grouping, so that's taken care of right here as well. And here we check if the track has been updated lately. So if there is a track that is bypassed, for instance, it will stop contributing to the sum because it will be stale, it will be old. And that's where you actually add things up. So far, so good. We could, in theory, store just this in the global memory, and then store that in the global memory. But I don't think there is any use for this alone. And we want to avoid writing to global memory because it is more code to write, but mainly because it is slow to go to global memory and do these kinds of writes and reads. So we want to do them only when strictly necessary. So only when other tracks will need to see the results of other tracks. Oh, and Tail is here. Hello, Tail. Great to have you here. So let's continue and try to find other points where we would need all instances to see each other and add them to the global memory. And I guess I will take this opportunity, actually, since we are going over this part, and I will change it because it's no longer the RMS. It has already been prioritized. So I will rename this variable because it's kind of misleading. We are not storing this. We are storing that already prioritized. And I am tempted to start calling this the attenuation already. Though at this point it's not really, but the attenuation is a number between 0 and 1 that will, in the end, will be multiplying the samples by this attenuation. Keep in mind that the Automixer can only ever attenuate a microphone. It will never add gain to a microphone. So it's effectively like a volume knob that is controlled by every other microphone. That's what an Automixer does to a track. Okay, so yeah, I'm tempted to call this not the RMS, but the attenuation, because we will be doing several steps of normalization. And I think that it is strictly necessary to do multiple steps of normalization. That's what the old Automixer did. And let me first explain what normalization is in this context and why I think multiple steps are necessary. So normalization is essentially this process that I described before, where you know your contribution to the total and you divide your contribution to the total by the total so that all the contributions add up to 1. This is not the same as normalization in the context of loudness normalization or even in the context of peak normalization. Nothing to do with any of that. It's just normalizing in the sense that they are going to add up to 1. So the attenuations of all the tracks should add up to 1. Which leads me to believe that maybe attenuation is not the best name either. Let's do a renaming pass on this whole thing. That's what we are going to do. First, I'm going to commit this line that I added because I know I want it. I may not want the things that I'm about to do. But this attenuation, it's not really the attenuation. Well, I guess it is, but I prefer to think of it as the gain that has been allocated. Another name for the Automixer is a gain sharing algorithm. So this is the gain that has been allocated to this microphone. And the gain is a number between 0 and 1, and the gain will be normalized in several ways. Yeah, let's change this from attenuation to gain. Well, I guess maximum attenuation in this context, I do want the word attenuation, but there you go. So I just renamed the variable. This shouldn't break anything. I will not restart the plugin to see if it's still working because I just renamed the variable. A variable that was not used before. I should be good. And this that I'm calling RMS, I no longer want to call RMS. I want to call it something like gain. But I need to start qualifying these things because there are several steps of the computation and I need to have different names for these different steps. I guess this first step could be gain RMS, except that I'm already using this name over here. And I will be using that name over there. So I need to perhaps rename this because this is used in a single place. Why am I even assigning a name to this? Just to make things simpler, I suppose, because it's 2 lines. But I guess I'm just gonna inline this real quick. And I'm gonna put parentheses here because I don't know the order of precedence of operations. Okay, so now I have that name available to me again. We will find better names in the future. This is just a work in progress, I guess. And there's this RMS. Well, let's commit this step as well. It's just one inlining of a single variable that is used in a single place. I will not test this. I'm confident I didn't break anything. And this is how you break stuff. Okay, this variable now. This is the RMS with priority. Well, prioritized. No, with priority. There you go, RMS with priority, because it is the RMS of this track, but that priority has already been mixed into the result. Continue to claim that I didn't break anything because I just renamed variables. Let's continue. And then this really is the RMS with priority. And that's a more intentional revealing name. And I made a selection that affects every occurrence, including this one. Okay. And now this is no longer really the sum of all RMSs. It is just the sum of all RMSs with priority. I will rename this to be RMSes, or I guess RMS with priority total. Or maybe some. I'll call it total. Hopefully this is more intentional revealing. So this is the total, or maybe I'll call it all tracks. I don't know. Anyway, this is this instance's RMS with priority, and this is for all tracks. Looks good to me. Okay, I'll call it total. No, I'll continue with all tracks. I don't know. I'm not happy with either name. But I will commit what I have, because I just renamed stuff. I didn't break anything. Let me prove that. I'm no longer confident in this assessment. So I remove the Automixer. I add the Automixer, 2 of them. Oh, no, I want to change the settings real quick. And the gain reduction scope still looks the same, but the click still doesn't work. Of course, because I just renamed stuff. Continuing. The gain. Well, this formula is a bit complicated to look at because it's very long. Let's perhaps break it in new lines. And it may help things. And the auxiliary variable that I removed, of course, was helping readability as well, but something like this will do. The point of this very long formula is that the gain that will be allocated to this microphone is this track divided by all tracks. In other words, it's normalized because if you do this for all tracks, they're going to add up to 1. Then I take this strength and I compute this strength of the strength of the Automixer attenuation. So how much are we actually affecting the gain? If you just leave this at 1, it would simply do this gain stuff that I explained, but you can make this less than 1, between 0 and 1, and then the plugin will not attenuate the crossbleed from one person speaking into the other person's microphone. It will not attenuate that crossbleed as much, and if you increase the strength, then you almost get a gate kind of effect, where if you are not speaking very loudly, your microphone is essentially closed. That's what the strength is all about. But I'm not going to touch the strength right now. I'm trying to get this lookahead feature working, and then I will see how it interacts with every other feature. So I'll just let this as is for now. The strength will not be different from 1. And I guess this is the source of the problem. This place is the source of our issue and the place where I need to start doing the normalization again. The problem here is I am taking the maximum, or I'm not sure if it needs to be the maximum or the minimum, but I am combining these tracks RMS with priority with its old RMS with priority, which means that this variable needs to be renamed as well. Let's do that real quick. So if you just implement lookahead naively, and that's what we used to do, you just have this part here. That just means there is this circular buffer. We store the RMSs with priority over time. Just go back into the past and get an old one. Oh, not really. If you're implementing this naively, you do this. You just take the current RMS with priority. We are already going to delay the sample playback anyway over here. So you just take this. If you're doing things naively, you just take this. We are introducing this notion here. But the problem is that the RMS with priority all tracks refers to this RMS with priority and not to that RMS with priority. There you go. There you have it. That's the source of the issue. If I am computing with this RMS with priority, then this sum applies. But if I am computing with this one, this sum does not apply. I am dividing two things that are nonsensical. One is in, let's say, kilometers, and the other is in grams. The units of measurement are not matched because the sum of all priorities, or the sum of all RMSs for all tracks, has been computed with respect to this value, not to that value. So I need to normalize with a compatible value. If I am in this situation, I do this. And if I am in that situation, I need to have something else that I actually store as well to be used here. Yeah, okay. That's I said that it was going to be tricky and intricate because it is very much in the weeds, but I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, then let me know in the chat. But the point, the whole point of this session and the title of this stream has to do with this notion of normalizing stuff over and over and normalizing with respect to the right things. So yeah, and normalizing in the sense of just being between 0 and 1 instead of being arbitrary values, because this is an arbitrary value, but this is between 0 and 1. I hope that makes sense. So we will need to store one more piece of data in the global data structure. What do I call it? And where do I store it? Well, I will want to store it about here. This sounds good. I am storing the new RMS, so I might as well get the old one and store it as well. What do I want to call this? Something like this. Guess something like that. Because this is the circular buffer that pertains to one instance, and that's necessary for the instance to communicate to the global scope what is its lookahead with priority. I get the feeling that this is getting so complicated. I guess it is complicated. Well, I'm not sure where to put this lookahead. Something like this will do. And naturally, I only want to do this if necessary. So if the lookahead in samples is different from 0, then do this. And this is a moment where I have to make a decision about how I want to treat the priority. I can't just let this priority be here. Oh no, I am already storing stuff with priority, so I shouldn't be multiplying by the priority again. Which means that if you're changing the priority on the go, which is something crazy, you shouldn't be doing that. But the priority of the old state is preserved. I feel like this is getting absurdly complicated. But I guess it is an absurdly complicated problem to begin with. Or maybe it is an easy problem. I have a hard time in reasoning about it. And Fotis is here. Hello, Fotis. Great to have you here. Since I have you here, I think we are meeting on Wednesday for the C++ Digital Signal Processing Juice study group, if that's okay by you all. If you can join us, Bo, that would be fine. But I think that tomorrow I will be streaming with Arya. Maybe here, maybe over at his channel. We haven't decided yet. We haven't even decided exactly on what we are going to talk about. But I think I will be streaming with Arya tomorrow, so the meeting of the study group will be on Wednesday, if that's okay by you all. Okay. Let's see. We need to create this now. But that's easy enough. Let's review this logic to see if it makes sense. If I have some lookahead, then I need to remember to store this stuff, which is just the old stuff. Okay. And I'm not really sure I want to call this lookahead. I'm not sure I love this part of the name. Anyway, the place where I need to make the decision of which to use, of which do I want to use this one or that one? Or better yet, do I want to use this one or that one? I need to make this decision here when computing the sum of all of them. So I guess I just need to take the maximum here, just like I take the maximum there. And instead of just the priority, I also take the look ahead. But I don't want to do this if I don't have look ahead. So let's check again if I have a look ahead going. Yeah, like that. So I check that I'm in the right group. I check that the sample is still being updated, or I guess not the sample. I guess that the track, I check that the track is being updated, that it hasn't been bypassed or the instance has been completely removed. Then I check. Then I will add to this sum. And then I check, do I have look ahead of 0? If so, just get that. Simple enough. Otherwise, I do have look ahead, so I need to take in account both the RMS with priority as well as the look ahead version of that. And I want to take the maximum between the two. That looks right to me. Then I would do a similar thing here. But this is already here and it has a name. It looks like that. And this same fix me needs to be here. And this fix me is here because I'm not sure I want to take the maximum. I may want to take the minimum. The more I think about it, the more confident I am that I actually want the maximum, but who knows? It's complicated. And this is just because this number may be 0 if all tracks are completely silent, and I don't want a division by 0. It would be 0 divided by 0, in fact, because if this is 0, it means that this is 0. So it would be 0 divided by 0, which is even worse than division by 0. At least if you think of the limit of division by 0, it's infinity or minus infinity. But 0 divided by 0, it's complicated. Anyway, strength, I don't need to change that. And then here, if I have lookahead, I would just be multiplying by gain just the same. I think that we did it. I think that we implemented the thing that I thought about implementing. I'm not sure we got the 2 spikes that I want, but at least I think I implemented what I wanted. And I think that there may be a simpler way of implementing this, but first let's check what you all have to say. Then I will check what the plugin is doing now, and then I will try to do this simplification. Okay, Wednesday school. I sent a message on Discord regarding next stream. I'm not sure what we are making tomorrow, actually. We may be making music with Arya. We may be doing code. We may be on his channel or mine. We may be just talking because we haven't talked in a long time. And I don't know. We'll see. Tune in tomorrow to find out. Let's see what the plugin does now. Do I have 2 spikes? Do I have complete garbage? Let's find out. Okay, not complete garbage. And just 1 spike. God damn it. I really don't have a handle on why I'm not getting 2 spikes. For me, it makes complete sense that I would be getting 2 spikes at this point. God damn it. Yeah. Thinking hard here, and I cannot make sense of this. But at least I think I can implement this thing that I just implemented in a simpler way. The thing is, when I am taking the sum of all tracks here, I am checking the maximum between the 2, which means that I don't need to store the 2. I'm taking the maximum between this and that. But I don't need to store both. I just need to store the maximum. There is no other place where I will need this, I don't think. Yeah, so I just need to store the maximum, which means that we can actually get rid of this field that we have created. And then we need to revisit the whole logic again. Let's do that. Yeah, so I don't want this. Or maybe there is a better way. A better way for me to do this. Yeah, I think there is. I can just do something like this. Check this out. And I don't like how I'm repeating this calculation, so I guess I will do something like this. Whoops, no, because that's used here. And I don't want to have any kind of feedback where I take the maximum and that's what I store in the circular buffer, and I end up feedbacking this computation of the maximum. I actually want to keep things separate. Was I smart and committed before I started this? I think I was smart. Yes, I was smart. Well, but I think that there is another way for me to actually implement this idea I just had. I just have to give stuff different names. Yeah, hang on to your seats. Oh man, this may be the most complicated stream I ever did. Or at least for me it is. So tricky, so many timing situations going on. Absolutely crazy stuff. Okay. Where am I going to use this? Right there. So I will create a variable called bananas, because that's what this stream is becoming. It's coming bananas. It's absolutely crazy stuff that we are doing. All right, so bananas, I guess I will capitalize it so it stands out and I remember to rename it. Bananas is the RMS with priority of this current thing, and that's what I want to put here. No question about that. And perhaps this should be further up. Perhaps it should. Here it is. Then we need to find out what we are going to do with the RMS with priority. And with this as well at the same time. If I am not doing lookahead, it's just bananas. If I am doing lookahead, take the maximum between bananas and that. Does this make sense? It seems to. What do I call bananas? I don't know. I don't know what to call bananas. Not yet. Then the sum of all tracks does not need to look into the lookahead anymore because that has been taken care of. We have, or have we? I don't know, my brain is melting. Do I need to take in account bananas? Do I need to take in account... People have stuff to say on the chat. Maybe they'll help. I don't think that the challenge is particularly difficult, but I am not having an easy time reasoning about this because there are so many interdependencies. It just, I don't know, it's crazy. It's Monkey Monday today, so it's fitting that the stream is bananas. Yeah. It is indeed. Have you seen the latest clip? Okay. Yeah, bananas is the technical term for RMS times priority, it seems. This is a good one. Yeah. Thanks for joining me on this madness. In this madness, I say. Yeah, we are only interested... I don't want to have any kind of feedback in which I take this maximum and this maximum keeps appearing, because this maximum is between stuff that is happening now and stuff that happened in the past, and I don't want a feedback cycle where stuff that happened in the past keeps happening again and again and again. I don't want to introduce a feedback, hence the bananas variable. But what about here, where I am computing the RMS of all tracks? At that point, I am only taking in account this, because this is already taking in account the maximum. Yes, this is all I want. Okay, continuing. I do all the preliminary checks to make it, to discard stale tracks. Then I do not need to take lookahead in account. I can just simply get this. Just like that. Okay, so that part is simpler. That's a win. Okay, and then when computing the gain, I will want to use RMS with priority, but I do not need to take this maximum because it has been taken already over here. Just like that. And we are back into this simpler formula. That's good. Do we still have the same behavior? I sure hope so. Yeah, I got rid of this part of the data structure. I'm adding to this part of the data structure, taking in account the maximum already. But I'm using the bananas variable to prevent a feedback cycle. Then I don't need to take this other look ahead field in account in these situations. Let's see if we still have the same behavior. Would you look at that? I will do the whole setup again because I cannot believe my eyes. I guess that was a bit heavy-handed. The game reduction scope was okay, but anyway, it's there, it's new. Then the routing I'm not gonna change, but the Automixer we have 2 instances. Automixer. 50 milliseconds of RMS, 250 milliseconds of lookahead. These numbers have been chosen because the RMS window is shorter than the lookahead, so the spike has enough time to come in, go out, and then come in and go out again. Then duplicate, then go to the gain reduction scope, and open the gain reduction scope for recomp. This is recomp. This is us. We did it! We finally did it! I cannot believe it. I don't know what was wrong before, because I changed the code in a way that was supposed to preserve meaning, and it fixed stuff. So, hooray! I was just watching a clip from an upcoming game that adopted Monkey Island Monday to be precise. Anywho, I need to know what this Monkey Monday is. I don't know what that is. I am out of the loop. Monkey Monday. Is it a song? Fuck. What? Is the start of the week where women post or share selfies of their vaginas online? What the fuck is that? You guys are on the wrong part of the internet. I didn't know about Monkey Monday. I didn't know women would do that. That's... My brain is also fried. I'm looking at MetaTrader C++ code. How are we getting feedback? Because the maximum of maximum between x and y returns the smallest of x and y. So wouldn't that limit it? Don't think so, because the way I understand this is if you, and the feedback cycle that I'm talking about is this bananas variable, of course. So the way that I understand this, if I take this maximum operation, and that's what I put over here, then that second spike will get back into the circular buffer that computes the rest of the spikes. So I think that if I do, instead of banana, and that's easy to test, and we're about to test this. So if I just do this instead, it will be taking in account the operation of the maximum. We are no longer using bananas over here. And I think that instead of one spike, we will have an infinite series of spikes. And it's important that I'm quiet, because when I add the first Automixer instance, if I am right, it will start feeding back. It will start a feedback cycle. So I want to see an infinite series of spikes. I will be silent now. That's what I was talking about. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you can see it feeding back like this, like crazy. Yeah, so that's the purpose of the bananas variable, and it does work. It does do the thing I promised. We got 2 spikes. Oh, finally. Ugh, yikes. Let's find a name for the bananas variable and then get onto our scooters and have a ride in the sun. It's not the RMS. Well, it is an RMS with priority, but... Well, if it is an RMS with priority, it should be called that. So let's find all occurrences of RMS with priority with lookahead, just like that. So it is with priority, with lookahead, of course. And then bananas becomes RMS with priority. There you go. Does that still work? What the fuck? Oh, the look ahead is 0. I think that was the issue before. I didn't press enter, so it was not... Remember how I first implemented this using 2 global variables, and then it didn't work, and I implemented the same thing with 1 local global variable and it worked? I think that the look ahead was 0. I didn't press return. I think that was that. Let's see. Now it's 250 in both, and 2 lovely spikes. Has this always been the issue? Did I implement this right on Friday? I don't think so, because I was not taking in account the look ahead when computing the sum. And I think that that step was crucial. The names of the variables are completely bananas. Hey. Yeah, okay, so that was that. The issue, I think, was fixed by the fact that we are now taking in account the look ahead when computing the sum, or what I'm calling now the RMS with priority with look ahead all tracks, of course. And I love the way that this formula reads now, except maybe for the variable names. I should stop calling this RMS and start calling it the loudness, because I may have other notions of loudness beyond RMS. I could do this with LUFS, for instance. Could be kind of fun. I could be using the Hilbert transform. It could be very nerdy, probably useless, kind of fun. That's what I'm all about. Yeah, I think that this looks good. Okay, we did some renaming, we did some wacky stuff, but now it's working. And the code is still relatively short, but oh boy, that was a difficult short code for me to write. And we do need to do more normalization. So, and normalization stuff doesn't end here. I know for a fact that, for instance, when we apply strength, we are making the gains go up and down. So we are breaking the guarantee that they add up to 1. I think we are. So I think that we need another normalization step here. Or we may get away without having one. I don't know. We'll have to actually listen to some conversation and use the Automixer in dialogue to make sure. But I think that we should have another normalization step after the gain strength adjustment. I'll leave a to-do here. It would be about here. In the original Automixer, we normalized the gain at this point, so that we are sure that all instances have gains that if you add all of them up, they add up to 1. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. I'm glad that that came across, because it was a complicated concept for me to reason about, so it was probably difficult for me to explain, which means it was probably difficult for you to understand, because I didn't explain it in perhaps a visual enough way. I could perhaps have drawn the little blocks of memory and arrows connecting stuff. But anyway, the idea is there. LUFS is what kids are into nowadays. It's not too difficult. It is similar to RMS. We just have to put a filter before it and adjust the windows so that they have particular sizes instead of having a slider for any window size. But anyway, let's get into our scooters and get out of here. Thank you, Fotis, Dale, Bo, and everyone else who is watching this. I see you again tomorrow, probably with Arya. maybe doing music, maybe doing code, maybe just talking, maybe over here, maybe on his channel. So subscribe to both of us and tune in tomorrow. And it will be 1 hour later than usual, I think. Anyway, I see you tomorrow for that. I see you on Wednesday for the C++ Digital Signal Processing Juice Study Group meeting. And I see you on Thursday for more of this, the Automixer. Thank you very much for joining me. It was a crazy little stream today, but I'm glad that you are here with me. I see you tomorrow. Yeah, have a good one. Bye. Thank you for watching the stream. You know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And soon we'll all will be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.